It was just another Friday. That's how these things always start, isn't it? With the ordinary. The kind of day you don't remember until something extraordinary, or in my case, terrible, smashes it to pieces. I'm Lily, and I was a young nurse, barely 2 years out of training, full of that bright-eyed hope that you can actually make a difference. I loved my job at City General, even the long hours and the aching feet. There was a satisfaction in it, a quiet hum of purpose that ran under everything. Please watch the full video. If you enjoy it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Give it a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. Lastly, don't forget to share the video with your family and friends. That evening, I was walking home. My shift had run late, as usual. The autumn air was crisp, nipping at my cheeks, and I pulled my thin jacket tighter. The streetlights cast long, watery shadows, and the city sounds were a familiar lullaby. Distant sirens, the rumble of a late bus, laughter spilling from a bar. I was tired, thinking about a hot shower and maybe a bowl of leftover pasta. Simple things. I turned onto Elm Street, a quieter, tree-lined road that was my usual shortcut. That's when I saw them. 2 figures, hunched and menacing, cornering a third. A man, smaller than them, clutching a briefcase. My stomach tightened. I'm not a hero, not by nature. I'm the type to call for help, to assess, to be practical. But something in the way they shoved him, the glint of something metallic in one of their hands, it bypassed all my sensible thoughts. "Hey!" I yelled, my voice thinner than I wanted. "Leave him alone! Stupid. So stupid. What did I think I was going to do?" But they turned, surprised. It gave the man a split second to try and bolt, but one of them grabbed him back. The other one, the one with the glint, advanced on me. "Mind your own business, little girl," he snarled. His eyes were cold, empty. Fear, sharp and icy, pricked my skin. But then I saw the man they were holding. His face was pale, terrified. He looked like someone's dad, someone's husband. He looked like he needed help. "Just let him go," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I took a step closer, a ridiculous, brave, foolish step. That's when it happened. A shove. A shout. The man I was trying to help cried out. I lunged, not even thinking, just trying to get between him and the danger. There was a deafening crack, like a firework going off right next to my ear. And then, a bloom of heat, searing, unbelievable heat in my side. I remember stumbling, my hand flying to my abdomen. It came away wet. Dark. I looked down, confused. The world started to tilt, the streetlights blurring into streaks. I heard shouting, running footsteps. Someone was screaming. Was it me? Then, nothing. Just a soft, velvety blackness, like falling into a deep, deep pool. The next thing I knew was pain. A dull, throbbing ache that consumed everything. And sounds. Beeping, rhythmic and insistent. Muffled voices. A scratchy blanket against my skin. I tried to open my eyes, but my eyelids felt like lead. "Lily? Lily, can you hear me, sweetie?" "Mom." That was Mom's voice, tight with tears. I managed a groan. Slowly, painfully, I peeled my eyes open. The light was too bright. I blinked, trying to focus. A white ceiling, the smell of antiseptic. Hospital. Of course. "Oh, thank God," Dad whispered, his hand rough and calloused, finding mine. My throat was dry. What happened?" I rasped. "You were shot, honey," Mom said, her voice breaking. "You were trying to help someone. You saved him, Lily. The doctors said you saved his life." Bits and pieces came back. The dark street, the glint, the man with the briefcase, the searing pain. I remembered thinking about my pasta. Strange, the next few hours were a blur of doctors, nurses, My colleagues, their faces a mixture of concern and professional calm. More pain medication, and my parents, tearful, relieved faces. They told me the bullet had missed any major organs by a miracle, but I'd lost a lot of blood. I was lucky. So lucky. The man you saved, Dad said later, when things had quieted down a bit. He's been here, waiting. He wouldn't leave, until he knew you were going to be okay. A stranger? I mumbled, my head still fuzzy. Yes, Mom said, stroking my hair. He feels terrible. Says it's all his fault. Kept saying you were an angel. I drifted in and out of sleep. The pain was a constant companion, but the drugs kept it at bay, like a muffled beast growling just out of sight. I dreamt of Elm Street, of shadows and fear, but then it would morph into my childhood bedroom, safe and warm, the next day. That's when the shocking part happened. Not shocking like another attack or some terrible medical news. Shocking in a way that made my heart ache with a different kind of emotion. I woke up feeling a little more human. The pain was still there, but it was more manageable. My parents were dozing in the uncomfortable visitor chairs. The room was dim, the morning light filtering softly through the blinds. And there he was, sitting in the corner. Not on a visitor chair, but on a small hard stool someone must have brought in. He was just there. The man from Elm Street. He looked different in the daylight, without the terror masking his features. He was probably in his late 40s, with kind eyes, though they were red-rimmed now, and his salt and pepper hair was disheveled. His suit was rumpled like he'd slept in it, which I realized he probably had. He saw me looking at him, and his eyes widened. He stood up slowly, hesitantly, as if afraid to startle a wild animal. "You're awake," he whispered. His voice was hoarse. My parents stirred. Mom blinked, saw him, then me, and a small smile touched her lips. "Lily, dear, this is Mr. Harrison, the man you helped." Mr. Harrison shuffled his feet. "Please," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Call me Tom, and I don't know how to thank you. You saved my life. They had a knife, too. After you." He couldn't finish. His eyes welled up. "It's okay," I managed, my own voice weak. Are you all right?" He nodded, a tear escaping and tracing a path down his cheek. "Yes, thanks to you. Just a few bruises. They got my briefcase, but that's nothing. Nothing compared to what you did. What you risked." He looked utterly wretched, a man drowning in guilt and gratitude. "The police want to talk to you when you're up to it," Dad said gently. "They caught one of them. The other is still out there." I nodded. That felt distant, unimportant right now. What was important, what was filling the room, was this man's raw, overwhelming emotion. "I stayed," Tom Harrison said, as if answering a question I hadn't asked. "I couldn't leave, not until I knew. Your parents have been incredibly kind." Mom smiled. "He's barely left this spot, Lily. Refused to. Go home. His wife brought him a change of clothes this morning. He just sat there, all night, watching you." "Watching me? A stranger?" That was unusual. Moving, yes, but also a little intense. I was a nurse. I knew people were grateful when you helped them, but this level of devotion from someone I'd never met before the incident was, well, it was a lot. "You should get some rest, Mr. Harrison." "Tom," I said. "You look exhausted." He shook his head. "Not until you're really, truly on the mend." "I owe you that. I owe you everything." And that was the beginning of it. The shock wasn't a sudden event, like a bomb going off. It was a slow, dawning realization. Tom Harrison didn't just visit. He stayed. The first few days, he was a quiet presence in the corner. He'd read a newspaper, or just sit, his gaze often drifting to me. When my parents had to step out, he'd offer to get me water, to adjust my pillows, awkwardly, bless him, to call a nurse if I needed anything. He spoke quietly with my colleagues, his gratitude palpable. They all started referring to him as Lily's guardian angel, which was ironic considering I was supposed to be his. His wife, Sarah, started visiting too. A kind, flustered woman with warm eyes, she'd bring me flowers or magazines or little pots of homemade soup once I was allowed to eat more solid food. Tom hasn't been himself, she confided in me one afternoon when he'd stepped out to make a call. He just keeps saying he can't believe a stranger would do that for him. He's always been a bit cynical, you know. This has changed. Him. Changed him. It was changing me too. Lying there, day after day, with this man I barely knew dedicating his entire existence to my recovery. It was humbling. It was overwhelming. The shocking part, for everyone else, started to become apparent. My friends who visited would see Tom and ask my parents later, "Who is that man? He's always here." My colleagues would whisper, "That Mr. Harrison, he's so devoted. It's like he's family." And that was the thing. He started to feel like family, not in a creepy way, but in a way that defied explanation. He'd talk to my dad about sports, share memories of his own kids, grown and out of the house, with my mom. He learned my favorite type of tea, the way I liked my pillows propped. He anticipated my needs before I even voiced them. One afternoon, Dr. Ramirez, my surgeon, came in. She smiled at Tom, who was, as usual, in his corner. "Mr. Harrison, still here? You must be the most grateful patient advocate I've ever seen." Tom just ducked his head. "She saved my life, doctor. It's the least I can do." "Well, Lily," Dr. Ramirez said, turning to me, "your recovery is progressing remarkably. Your youth and fitness are on your side. But I dare say having such dedicated support doesn't hurt either." When she left, I looked at Tom. "You really don't have to do this, you know. I'm going to be fine. You have a life, a job." He looked at me, and his expression was so earnest, so open, it made my breath catch. "Lily," he said, his voice low, "before this happened, my life, it was fine. I have a good wife, a decent job in accounting, a comfortable home. But I was just going through the motions. I complained about traffic, about my boss, about the weather. Little things. And then, you, a young woman with your whole life ahead of you, you didn't hesitate. You stepped in front of danger for a man you didn't know from Adam. You showed me what courage, what selflessness really looks like." He paused, gathering his thoughts. My colleagues, my neighbors, they heard what happened. They sent flowers, cards. They said, "That nurse was so brave. My wife told me people at her work were talking about it. That poor young nurse. They're shocked that someone would be so reckless, so brave for a stranger. But what I think is shocking, Lily, is that I had forgotten people like you exist." His words settled in the quiet room. I didn't know what to say. "So, no," he continued, a small, sad smile on his face. "I don't have to be here. But I want to be. Being here, seeing you get stronger every day, it's helping me heal too. It's reminding me that there's good in the world. Real, tangible good." That was the shock. Not a plot twist. Not a hidden identity. The shock was the depth of a stranger's gratitude. The shock was how an act of violence could paradoxically forge such a profound, unexpected bond. The shock was that in a world that often felt cold and indifferent, this one man's unwavering dedication shone like a beacon. Everyone who came into that room, doctors, nurses, my family, my friends, they all saw it, they all felt it, and they were all, in their own way, shocked by it. Shocked that such pure, unadulterated kindness and devotion could spring from such a brutal event. As the days turned into weeks, my physical wounds began to heal. I started physiotherapy, wincing through the exercises. Tom would often be there, a silent cheerleader, offering an encouraging smile or a thumbs up. He'd bring me lukewarm coffee from the hospital cafeteria. He knew I hated it too hot, and we'd talk. Not about the attack much anymore, but about everything else. About his grandkids, about my dreams of maybe specializing in pediatric nursing, about silly movies we'd both seen, about the changing colors of the leaves outside my hospital window. He told me about his work, mundane details about spreadsheets, and audits that he somehow made sound interesting because he was sharing them with me. I told him about nursing school, about the funny habits of my cat, Mittens, who my parents were diligently looking after. We were building a friendship, brick by brick, in the sterile environment of a hospital room. The next day, shock kept rippling outwards. My colleagues started calling him Lily's honorary dad. My mother joked that she was going to have to adopt him. Even the stoic security guard at the entrance knew him by name and would ask, "How's our Lily doing today, Mr. Harrison?" The day I was finally discharged, it was an emotional affair. My parents were fussing, packing my few belongings. Nurses came in to say goodbye, and Tom was there, looking both happy and a little lost. "So," he said, fiddling with the strap of the small bag Sarah had packed for him with a fresh shirt, "this is it." "I guess so," I said, feeling a strange pang. "Thank you, Tom, for everything. You and Sarah, you've been amazing." "No, Lily," he said, his eyes shining. "Thank you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, clumsily wrapped gift. "This is just a little something. From me and Sarah." I unwrapped it. It was a delicate silver necklace with a tiny, stylized angel wing. My breath hitched. "Because you were my angel that night," he said softly. "And you reminded me that angels walk among us." Tears pricked my eyes. "Tom, it's beautiful, but you didn't have to." "I wanted to," he insisted. He looked at my parents. "If it's all right, I'd like to stay in touch. If Lily wants to, of course." My mom beamed. "Of course, Tom. You're part of the family now." And he was. That was the enduring shock. It wasn't just a hospital vigil. Tom and Sarah Harrison became fixtures in our lives. They came to Sunday dinners. Tom helped my dad fix the leaky faucet in our kitchen. Sarah and my mom went shopping together. When I finally went back to work, nervous and a little shaky, there was a huge bouquet of flowers at the nurse's station from Tom and Sarah. The world had tried to show me its ugly side that night on Elm Street. And it had succeeded in a way. I still had nightmares sometimes. I was more cautious when walking alone. But counteracting that darkness was this bright, unexpected light. The light of Tom's unwavering gratitude, a gratitude that had blossomed into a genuine, loving friendship. People still talked about it. "Remember that nurse who got shot?" they'd say. "And that man she saved? He never left her side. It's incredible." They were still shocked, in a good way, shocked by the goodness that could emerge from horror. Sometimes, I'd touch the little angel wing necklace. It wasn't just a reminder of what happened, or of my own actions. It was a reminder of Tom. A reminder that when I had reached out to protect a stranger, I hadn't just saved a life. I had, in some strange, beautiful way, found a new family. And that, I think, was the most shocking and wonderful outcome of all. The next day hadn't just been one day. It was every day that followed, filled with an unexpected bond, a testament to how a single act of kindness, even one born of instinct and fear, could ripple outwards and change lives forever in ways no one could ever predict. My recovery continued, slowly but surely. The physical therapy was tough, rebuilding strength in muscles that had been traumatized and then lay dormant. There were days I wanted to give up, when the ache in my side was a burning reminder, when the phantom pains made me jumpy. But then, I'd get a text from Tom, a silly joke or an encouraging word, or Sarah would drop by with a batch of her famous cookies and a listening ear. Their presence was a constant, gentle support. The man who shot me was never caught. The other one, the accomplice, got a few years in prison for assault and robbery. Sometimes that thought would niggle at me, the injustice of it, the randomness. But then I'd look at the life I had, the connections I'd made, and the anger would soften. What he'd meant for evil, life, or something bigger, had somehow twisted into a strange sort of good. A few months after I was back on my feet, fully cleared for work, Tom called me. "Lily," he said, his voice sounding a little nervous. "Sarah and I were wondering, we're having a small get-together for our wedding anniversary next month. Just a few close friends and family, and well, we'd be honored if you and your parents would come." "Tom, we'd love to," I said, genuinely touched. The party was at their home, a cozy, welcoming place filled with photographs and the scent of home cooking. I met their children, their grandchildren, lovely people who greeted me with warmth and a sort of quiet awe. "So you're Lily," one of their daughters said, giving me a hug. "Dad talks about you all the time. You really did change his life." Later in the evening, Tom tapped his glass for a toast. He thanked everyone for coming, said a few loving words about Sarah, and then he looked at me. "And I want to make a special toast," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "To Lily. Many of you know the story. But what you might not know is that Lily didn't just save my physical life, she woke me up. She reminded me what's truly important. Kindness, courage, connection." He raised his glass. "To Lily, our family's angel." The room was silent for a moment, and then everyone raised their glasses, their eyes on me. I felt my cheeks flush, but my heart swelled. This wasn't shock anymore. This was belonging. This was the beautiful, unexpected consequence of a terrible night. Life settled into a new kind of normal. I continued working at City General, my passion for nursing undiminished, perhaps even deepened by my own experiences as a patient. I saw the fear in patients' eyes with a new understanding, felt their pain with a sharper empathy. Tom and I had a standing coffee date every other Saturday. We'd meet at a little cafe midway between my place and his. We'd talk for hours. He became a mentor, a confidant, the wise, kind uncle I never knew I needed. He'd listen to my work stresses, my dating woes, or lack thereof, my dreams for the future. He never offered unsolicited advice, but when I asked, his insights were always thoughtful and gentle. One Saturday, about a year after the shooting, we were at our usual cafe. It was a bright spring day, and the city was buzzing with life. "No, Lily," Tom said, stirring his coffee. "I've been thinking a lot about that night." I tensed slightly. We didn't often talk directly about the violence anymore. "Not the bad parts," he quickly added, sensing my shift. "But about fate, I guess. Or whatever you want to call it." He looked out the window for a moment, then back at me. "What were the chances, really? You taking that shortcut. Me being in that exact spot at that exact moment. It feels like it was meant to be. Not the shooting, of course, but our meeting." I nodded slowly. "I've thought about that too. It's strange, isn't it? How something so awful can lead to this." I gestured between us, meaning our friendship, this easy connection. "Strange and wonderful," he agreed. "I sometimes wonder what my life would be like if I hadn't met you. I'd probably still be grumbling about traffic, oblivious to the everyday miracles around me." He smiled. "You were my miracle, Lily." "You're mine too, Tom," I said, and I meant it. He'd shown me a depth of human goodness that I hadn't known was possible, especially from a stranger. He'd shown me that even in the face of darkness, light could not only persevere but flourish in the most unexpected ways. The shock of what happened the next day, and the days and months and years that followed, never truly faded for those who knew the story. It became a sort of local legend, a testament to heroism and its surprising aftermath. Young nurse shot protecting a stranger. That was the headline. But the real story, the one that unfolded day by day, was so much richer, so much more complex. It was about how the threads of two lives, violently thrown together, could weave a tapestry of friendship, love, and mutual healing. It taught me that heroism isn't just about a single act of bravery. It's also about the quiet courage to open your heart, to accept kindness, to build bridges where there were once chasms. Tom's unwavering presence, his steadfast gratitude that evolved into genuine affection, that was its own kind of heroism. It shocked everyone because it was so pure, so unexpected in a world that often rewards cynicism. Years passed. I did specialize in pediatrics. I fell in love, got married. Tom walked me partway down the aisle with my dad, a symbol of the two most important father figures in my life. Sarah helped my mom with the wedding preparations, fussing over flower arrangements, and seating charts like she was family because she was. When my first child was born, Tom and Sarah were among the first visitors at the hospital, Tom looking at my baby with the same gentle awe he used to look at me with in that hospital room so many years ago. "Another miracle," he whispered, his eyes shining. The scar on my side faded to a thin, silvery line, a permanent reminder. But it no longer brought with it the sharp stab of fear or pain. Instead, it reminded me of courage, not just my own, but Tom's too. It reminded me that even in our darkest moments, we are not alone, and that connections can be forged in the most unlikely of fires. The shock, ultimately, was the enduring power of human connection. It was the realization that a single moment of selfless action could ripple outwards, touching countless lives, changing them for the better, proving that even after the headlines fade and the initial drama subsides, the real story is in the quiet, persistent acts of love and friendship that follow. And that was a beautiful shock, one that continued to resonate day after day, year after year, a quiet hymn to the best parts of humanity. It taught me, and everyone who witnessed it, that the next day isn't just an aftermath. It can be a brand new beginning, more profound and meaningful than anyone could have ever imagined. And that truth, simple and pure, remained the most astonishing part of it all.